what does trans mean? We had to discuss in pairs what we thought this meant. Then Dex told us it's about change. And that when a pupil in school transitions, the whole environment has to transition. Really. No-nos are saying things like, someone wants to be something or someone used to be a girl. Dex also observed that terms get out of date ever so quickly nowadays. Why even the young people he works with, and I judge that he was probably late 20s at a push, early 30s, but I doubt it, thinks he's such a fuddy-duddy because he uses archaic terms. So just as you get used to one term, which you will think is acceptable, and you use that term, they'll jump in and tell you that that's not acceptable because there's a new term and that one now is archaic and offensive. So you won't be able to win anyway. Also, that sex is assigned at birth. What is the difference between sex and gender? Again, we had to discuss in pairs and then had corrections from Dex. Dex explained that doctors diagnose sex. Well, I'm pretty sure that sexuality, gender, is not an illness. Okay? You're not sick. You're not poorly. You're not unwell. So you're not being diagnosed anything. Okay? You give birth, and when you give birth, normally the midwife will turn around and say to the mother, congratulations, it's a little boy. Congratulations, it's a little girl. It's not a diagnosis. It's a statement of fact. Okay? Now, whether that person grows up and decides in his later life that he should have been a girl or that he should have been a boy, that's their choice. But right now, it's a baby. And it's either a baby boy or it's a baby girl. But no. That's archaic. Then a slide which stated only male and female is a key cultural assumption, and that 1 in 100 people are intersex. So you're assuming that child's intersex. So you can make that assumption, Dex. That's okay, isn't it? And that 1 in 100 people are under the trans umbrella. Well, how do you know that? When a screaming baby comes out your womb, I'm pretty certain that all you know is one's got a penis, one's got a vagina, one's a girl, one's a boy. That's all that child knows. He doesn't come into the world going, oh, no. I don't think I want my vagina right now. I think I'd much rather have a penis. This pish is doing my head in. It also said, in brackets, statistics are indicative. Intersex people experience a lot of violence from doctors on their bodies. It's also common trans activist trope. Dex started to talk about the exhibition, and he said that his absolute most favourite thing in the exhibition was a candle made out of synthetic testosterone. Misgendering. If you misgender someone, just apologise and move on. It doesn't have to be a big deal. If it's not a big deal, what am I apologising for? If I turn around and say, oh, he's a nice looking fella, and it turns out that he is a she, I'm not going to apologise if I've misgendered you. I've had people walk past me from the back, and I've got quite broad shoulders and assume that I'm a geezer when I had short hair. Am I offended? No. Do I want an apology? Not particularly. No. From the front, I'm sure that, most people would see me and see that I'm a large-breasted girl, and therefore I'm a woman. Also, there are just so many new things coming up these days, says Dex. There will always be new words and terms. New words and identities are very exciting. They give you choices and autonomy. Even older people might enjoy having the opportunity to use these new words to describe themselves. Safeguarding issues. Did you know that a pupil presenting as trans is not inherently a safeguarding issue? Although, on one hand, one could quite agree with this, surely one would come from a perspective that it might be a safeguarding issue. Anyway, if a pupil tells you that they are trans, respect their confidentiality, especially if they may not have made their mind up yet. Although Dex knows of a 15-year-old who posted it all over Instagram because they just wanted to be out there and for everybody to know. Access to gender-neutral spaces. Did you know that transgender pupils are not being at school due to lack of gender-neutral facilities? See, I don't buy this either. If you're going to school and you look like a little boy, but you feel like you should have been born a little girl, you go into the toilets. I don't think the little boys down there really care because they don't know. Same with the little girls. So I don't get all this. And I know that gender-neutral toilets do exist. One of the teachers in touch with me right now works in a school in Nottingham when there's a gender-neutral toilet in the school and they're cubicles with no doors. And these aren't just for pupils, but they're for teachers too. So children from the age of 11 are changing sanitary towels, Tampax, doing number 2, standing up, taking a pee, sitting down, taking a pee, whilst adults are able to go in and access that toilet. And we shouldn't be worried at all. Dex then related that he's currently mentoring a 9-year-old child in school, following the school requesting help from Gendered Intelligence. Dex has one-to-one sessions with the child, as the child said they wanted someone to talk to. Dex had recently asked the child if they wanted to continue the sessions in the new term, to which the child said they were confused about how to answer this, which was an answer which Dex was clearly disappointed with, as his voice dropped to no. Though in a moment of rare self-reflection, he did also acknowledge that some kids do change their minds. Q&A session. Dex came into his own in the Q&A session. During the teaching session, there was all the time in the world to listen to him speaking about the matter closest to his heart, queerness. However, when the Q&A session started, he began to look at his watch and exclaimed there might not be enough time, and also took a deep inhalation of breath, signalling to us that he was very nervous indeed. Someone asked a question about safeguarding. Yes, this person said, being trans is not de facto to a safeguarding issue, but what if there is? What do you do? Well, Dex advised us to ask that trans person who has told you that they are trans. Who else knows? Dex also said that the needs of the trans person might be in conflict with the needs of the family. He said it a couple of times as if the needs of the family was automatically something bad. So I'm going to skip this little bit here because this is where it gets interesting. So this just gives you a feel for it, okay? So when we get to the Kissing My Genders exhibition. Now, bearing in mind, please do keep in consideration what I said. This is teacher training for teachers teaching children as young as 4 to 11 and 11 to 17, okay?
The World Health Organization standards for sexuality education in Europe actually suggest that children ages 0 to 4 should be given information about masturbation and given the right to explore their gender identity. For ages 4 to 6, children should be taught about same-sex relationships and respect for different norms regarding sexuality.
In the context of the Sustainable Development Goals, that determines the agenda for the next 15 years. The voice is very, very biased. It's just International Planned Parenthood Federation and their affiliates. We have a direct influence on the outcome documents, on what is established, what is negotiated at the UN.
After the training session, we went to look at the exhibition with a talk from the curator. Even before we entered the room, we were informed that the exhibition might not be suitable if you have a latex allergy. So my red flags were already raised. No warning was given about the content of the exhibition, i.e. that there was extremely graphic depictions of adult sexuality. The latex allergy warning was given because there are 2 huge curtained off areas made out of latex. And I have to say, I did feel a bit wheezy around it. The first photo still that I looked at was of, I guess, a drag queen wearing a pair of handcuffs. Kind of rolled my eyes a bit and wondered how much worse it was going to get in the latex room. The curator talked a bit how the show was all about different gendered identities and how they expressed blah, blah, blah. Victoria Sin is one of the artists featured. Sin is a Canadian woman who identifies as non-binary, and the curator explained that her work explores femininity, of course, religiously referring to her as they. Still photos of her are projected onto curtain material, so that the image of her tantalizes the viewer. You can look up images of Victoria Sin for yourselves if you like. She isn't exploring femininity. She's depicting a blow-up sex doll. That's what the woman thought anyway. There would be no way in hell they could get away with displaying that if they were projecting that onto a flat screen. Then there was a section of more traditional portraiture photographic stills. Some were faces, but some were, in my opinion, leaning towards soft porn. For example, a pair of long, sexy legs ending with a pair of very high heeled stilettos. More blue blah blah from the curator as he talked about one of the photos which depicted a body. Listen to what I'm actually saying, please. Depicted a body covered in blown up condoms. What's blown up condoms all over a body got to do with gender identity? Somebody tell me, because I sure as hell don't know. According to the curator, this artist was experimenting with the hybrid body by covering himself with blow-up condoms. A hybrid body? Hybrid body. Okay. At which point I mentally asked myself, is it that or a rubber fetish? It's a rubber fetish. We moved upstairs to an area displaying media art. Here there was a very large photo of an African woman with what looked to me like lots of black rubber gloves. The blurb beside the photograph described that the artist was exploring black identity. Or what's with the black leather gloves then? The black latex gloves, what's that all about? I do sincerely hope that the Hayward Gallery is not transing ethnic experience, but it does seem like that. Especially as I felt that the image lacked any sexual charge whatsoever and was simply a black woman being as black as she could. It's a very beautiful photograph. On the floor in that area, now this is where it gets really bad. So please, this is the most important bit of all this video. This is the most important bit. On the floor of that area, there was an absolute huge rabbit suit, probably 5 meters long. I asked the curator what it was, and he explained that the artist in question likes dressing up in him, but that this was one that he probably doesn't use for performance. The curator said it was known as the big one, then smirked. So that the furries, that was the furries tick box check then. Curator also talked about a series of photos, again exploring gender identity, which were of actually nothing of the sort, unless you think that looking like an alien or having your face covered in fruit is somewhere on the gender spectrum. Again, the curator used the word masking to describe his family of photos, another red flag. Masking is a rubber fetish. Oh, and there was also the candle made out of testosterone, which was Dex's favourite. It was about 4 inches high and unremarkable. Then we moved to an area where things are ramped up a bit. Please bear in mind, teacher training for 4 to 11-year-olds and 11 to 17-year-olds. There were several more photos which were really depicting various BDSM practices, and incredibly a very close-up photo of an erect penis. This is when I really began to think there must be an age restriction on this show of at least 15. And if so, what was the point of bringing a bunch of school teachers to look at this? What age of kids are they thinking about? Higher education, surely. So I approached the school programmer manager and asked her, was it age restricted? She said no, it wasn't, but the parents were giving her an advisory warning. I'll just repeat for emphasis, the show is not age restricted. I explained to her that some of the exhibition material was actually pornographic in nature, and that in particular rubber fetish was a theme. She said that parents know their kids best. Well, if we know our kids best and we give birth to our son or our daughter, do we not know? So the other one's saying, listen to the trans person, don't listen to the family. But these people are saying, no age restriction, parents know the kids best. Then she went all corporate on me and told me how invaluable my opinion was and that she would feed it back, and that the gallery had been consulted by the LGBTQ plus group. So what about the heterosexual group? Or don't the heterosexual group count in the process of vetting the show? I said I didn't understand how the gallery could put a fully erect penis on display and think that it was okay for potentially young children to see such an image. I point out that the gallery are failing responsible parents by not making it clear that there are explicit images on show. Then the school programme manager invited the curator to join the conversation. I explained my position to him and that it wasn't appropriate for children to see it at all. I pointed out that even in a 15 certificate film, you wouldn't be able to show a fully erect penis, and the same standard needed to apply in this situation.